In 2025, while we freely choose our careers and control our own bodies, young women in North Korea are reduced to numbers stripped of their names, their teeth, and their humanity. What you're about to hear is the testimony of someone who survived a system that treats people as state property, where a 28-year-old woman died from infected dental extraction while being prepared to serve as part of the Joy Group. This isn't history. This is happening right now, just miles from Seoul's glittering skyline. If these stories matter to you, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us bring these untold stories to light. Together, we can be a voice for those who cannot speak. I was a member of the Joy Group. As a member of the art troupe, I received a notification called Central Selection of Joy Group. Going to Pyongyang was a glory everyone dreamed of. But not all Joy Group members had the same fate. Some performed, but the place we were sent to was completely different. There, the girls who were called in turn came back with their faces, swollen differently every day, and one sister died of high fever in just 4 days. What happened to us who were selected as the Joy Group? I will tell you that story now. Your subscriptions and likes are the power that reveals the hidden truth of North Korea to the world. I was singing in the city art troupe in Cheongjin, North Hamgyong Province. I was 20 years old. I loved singing since I was young, and my teachers praised me for having a clear voice. Joining the art troupe was the proudest moment of my life. That day, too, was a normal practice. We sang Our Leader Comrade, matched dance moves, and smiled again. When the instructor said, "Smile brighter," that was around the end of the morning practice. "Everyone, gather," I heard the voice of the troop leader. It was a more tense voice than usual. We quickly lined up. Next to the troop leader stood people I had never seen before. Their Pyongyang-like manner of speaking, new clothes, and cold eyes. Today, there will be a special selection from the central government. The practice room suddenly became noisy. Central selection? Isn't that Pyongyang? A place everyone dreams of going to at least once. But at the same time, there was fear. Rumors that you can't return. If you go to Pyongyang, stories about not being able to meet your family. One by one, come forward and sing a song each. I clenched my trembling hands. When it was my turn, I sang Welcome, the song I sing the best, trying not to let my voice tremble, as brightly as possible with a smile. The people from Pyongyang did not show any expression. After finishing the song and returning to my seat, the instructor handed me a piece of paper. It wasn't my name. It was a number. 17. Why a number instead of a name? But the older sisters around me whispered, "Congratulations. You're going to Pyongyang." "Good for you," they said. That evening, we packed our bags. They told us not to bring much. "You'll be given everything there," they said. I put a few clothes and a comb my mother gave me in a small bag. While riding the train to Pyongyang, I looked out the window and thought, now my life will change. At that time, I thought this was a dream. But it wasn't a dream. It was the beginning of a nightmare. When we arrived in Pyongyang, the car carrying us headed to the outskirts, not the city center. A building surrounded by a high wall, barbed wire, and at the entrance, they inspected all our bags. "From here on, you must follow the rules." A cadre said, "First, minimize personal belongings. Second, no outside contact. Third, use numbers instead of names. Fourth," he said slowly, looking around at us, "your face is no longer yours. It belongs to the state." At that moment, I looked again at the number 17 in my hand. The paper was damp with sweat. Thinking back now, that day was the day my life was decided. Or maybe it was the day my life disappeared. From the next day after arriving at that building on the outskirts of Pyongyang, our lives completely changed. At 6 in the morning, we woke up to the sound of the wake-up horn. 26 women slept in one room. We didn't sleep on beds, but on blankets laid on the floor. We couldn't even properly see each other's faces. Asking for names was also forbidden. "You will now be called only by numbers," the security instructor said. I was 17. The sister next to me was 20. We had to call each other by numbers. It was awkward at first. Saying things like 3, let's eat, felt so strange. The first morning meal was corn rice with a piece of kimchi. It was better than what we ate in Cheongjin. After the meal, we gathered in a large hall. A woman stood on the stage. She looked to be around 30, heavily made up. "I am the responsible instructor who will educate you," she said. "Do you know why you are here? You are now the face of the state. You exist for the joy of the great marshal. There is no individual. Only service, service. When I heard that word, a chill ran down my spine. We were not even soldiers, yet service? From that day, training began. Singing, dancing, and practicing smiling. We stood in front of mirrors all day, practicing smiling, lifting the corners of our mouths, making our eyes crescent-shaped, showing our teeth. Brighter, prettier. The marshal must feel good. "When he sees you!" the instructor shouted. My cheek muscles trembled from smiling. It wasn't a smile, but making a facial expression. My face in the mirror was smiling, but my eyes were not. In the evening, there was ideological education. Your parents did not give birth to you. The party and the leader raised you. When I heard those words, I thought of my mother's face. The worried face when I told her I was going to Pyongyang. The voice saying, "Come back safely." But I couldn't say those thoughts out loud. Before going to sleep at night, we didn't talk to each other. There was surveillance. Someone was always standing in the hallway, and even after turning off the lights, I could hear footsteps. One night, 3, lying next to me, whispered in a small voice, "17, aren't you scared?" I couldn't answer. I felt like I shouldn't say I was scared, but my hands were trembling. After about a week, we underwent a physical examination. Height, weight, and dental examination. Someone called a medical instructor looked into our mouths one by one. Any cavities? Gum condition? My teeth were healthy. My mother always told me to brush my teeth. But the medical instructor recorded something. I couldn't see what he recorded. That evening, a notice was posted on the bulletin board. All are subject to dental treatment. The order will be announced later. Dental treatment, huh? I thought it was just a checkup. But 20, who was next to me, said with a pale face, "It's the beginning." What? I don't know, but I heard. All the kids who come here have to do something. At that time, I didn't know what they were talking about. What's so important about dental treatment? It's just an examination and treatment, right? Losing my name, my thoughts seemed to diminish. I seemed to be gradually forgetting who I was and why I was here. On the 3rd day after the dental treatment notice was posted, we gathered again in the auditorium. A medical instructor was standing in front, and next to him was a man in a white coat. He was wearing glasses and seemed to be a dentist. The medical instructor slowly opened his mouth. He said that the comrades would soon be serving the dear leader closely, and that preparation was necessary for that. And then he said he would extract all of our teeth. For a moment, the auditorium fell silent. Extraction. That meant extracting all the teeth. He said everyone was a target for extraction, all 26 of us, starting from number 1 and coming to the medical room in order. He also added that dentures would be fitted after extraction. But I couldn't understand. Why extract healthy teeth? Getting dentures at 20. Isn't that something only grandmothers do? That night, the room was restless. Although there was surveillance, everyone couldn't help it. Whispers went back and forth about why the teeth were being extracted, whether it would hurt, and whether we could eat if we got dentures. I brushed my teeth with my tongue. They were healthy teeth, white teeth without a single cavity, which my mother used to be proud of. They were going to extract these? Sister number 1 couldn't sleep that night. I saw her tossing and turning in the blankets. She looked about 22 years old, a sister from Cheongjin. The next morning, 5 people from number 1 to number 5 went to the medical room. We sang in the practice room, but we couldn't concentrate. I wondered what those 5 were doing now. Were they really having their teeth extracted? Time passed slowly. It was lunchtime. The 5 didn't come back. Around 2 in the afternoon, the door opened. Sister number 1 stumbled in. The sight of sister number 1 was a shock in itself. Her face was twice as swollen, and the gauze in her mouth was red with blood. She stumbled into the room and collapsed on the bed. She only groaned. She couldn't speak. Numbers 2, 3, 4, and 5 were the same. They all looked equally miserable. Swollen faces, unending blood, expressions distorted in pain. I went to sister number 1. I asked if she was okay. She only shed tears. She couldn't open her mouth or speak. That night, the 5 couldn't eat anything. The nurse brought porridge, but they couldn't even swallow it. Their mouths were full of wounds. Sister number 1 groaned all night, holding her gums. The sound echoed throughout the room. We couldn't sleep a wink. We were trembling, hearing that sound. A few days later, numbers 6 to 10 were called. They also returned in the same state. My turn was getting closer. I was number 17. On the 3rd day, sister number 1's condition worsened rapidly. Others started to see their swelling go down a bit. But sister number 1 only got worse. Her face turned red and hot. I touched her forehead. It was so hot it burned my hand. This wasn't a normal fever. We ran to the instructor. We said sister number 1 was in real danger and needed to be taken to the hospital immediately. The instructor just said he understood with an annoyed look. He said he would report it upstairs. But no one came. On the 4th day, sister couldn't get out of bed. The area around her mouth started to turn black. It was inflammation. The inflammation that started from the extracted gums was spreading across her face. We went to the instructor again. This time, we begged him in tears. We said please send her to the hospital. She would die like this. The instructor got angry. He shouted that it was noisy and why were we telling him such things? And nothing happened. Meanwhile, the extractions continued. Next was me. It was my turn the next morning. It was night. I couldn't sleep. I looked at sister number 1 and thought, if I go into that medical room tomorrow, I'll become like her. Sister number 1 continued to worsen. On the 5th day, she started talking nonsense. Her mind was wandering due to the high fever. She looked for her mother. She asked for water. Even when we brought her water, she couldn't swallow. Her breathing became increasingly rough. She gasped heavily. We stayed by her side. We held her hand. But she couldn't see us. That night, I realized, it was my turn the next morning. If I went into that room, I would become like her. No, I might even die. Hearing sister number 1's groans, I knew for sure. If I couldn't get out of here, I would die. Sister number 1 died the morning before my turn. I heard her breathing all night. It grew weaker and slower. We didn't sleep by her side. We held her hand and wiped her forehead. It must have been around 4 in the morning. Her breathing stopped. I put my hand on her nose. There was no breath. I checked her pulse. It wasn't beating. Sister number 1 had died. At 28, forced to have her healthy teeth extracted, without receiving proper treatment even once. We cried, silently. We cried with our mouths covered, afraid the instructor might hear. Sister number 2 hugged sister number 1 and sobbed. Morning came. We ran to the instructor and told him that sister number 1 had died. The instructor wasn't surprised. He just said he understood. And then he said, prepare for training. About an hour later, medical staff came in. With a stretcher, they put sister's body on the stretcher. They covered it with a blanket. And then they went out. That was the end. We stood there, stunned. A person had just died, but no one investigated. No one asked why they died or whose responsibility it was. They just cleaned it up, like it was trash. At lunchtime, we went back to that room. We saw the spot where sister number 1 had been lying. The blanket was neatly made. The bed was empty. There was no trace left. The blood-stained gauze and sister's belongings were all gone, like no one had ever been there from the start. At evening roll call, we were counted as 25. Originally, there were 26. But no one talked about it. Neither the counselors nor us. The number 1 just disappeared like that. Without a name, without a record. That night, I couldn't sleep. Tomorrow morning, it would be my turn. Numbers 17 to 21. 5 of us were scheduled to be called. I looked at sister number 1's empty bed, and I thought, if I go into that clinic tomorrow, I could end up like that. No, I definitely will end up like that. Suffering for a few days after the extraction, getting an infection, having a fever, and then dying. Even if I die, no one will know. Not my family, not the world. I would just disappear like one less number. That was the scariest thing, that even death wouldn't be recorded. It was midnight. I made up my mind. I had to get out of here. Before tomorrow morning came. Before I was dragged to that clinic. I had to somehow get out alive. Sister number 1 was telling me. Run away. Survive. Tell the world. Sister was dead, but I had to live, even if it was for sister's sake. And for the sake of those who would still be left here. I had to get out before dawn. I got up. I quietly put on my shoes. Someone moved next to me. It was number 3. Number 3 also nodded at me. It meant, let's go together. Number 3 also knew that if we stayed here, we would die. We opened the door. The hallway was dark. The counselors were asleep. This was it. If not now, there would be no chance. We quietly went down the stairs. My heart felt like it would burst. I held my breath, afraid of making any footstep sounds. We reached the first floor. I saw the back door. I grabbed the doorknob. My hand was shaking. I thought of sister number 1's face. And I thought, it felt like sister had taken my place. Thanks to sister, I still had my teeth. I could still walk. I still had the strength to run away. I opened the door. As I opened the door, the cold outside air hit my face. I could see stars in the night sky. The lights of Pyongyang City were faintly visible beyond the barbed wire. I grabbed number 3's hand, and we ran. We ran without looking back. Along the wall, along the barbed wire. I didn't know where I was going. I just had to go as far as possible. How long did we run? My breath was catching up to me. My legs were wobbly, but I couldn't stop. I heard the sound of a whistle behind us. We had been discovered. Someone shouted that the kids had run away. I ran even faster. Number 3 also ran, holding my hand tightly. We climbed up the mountain. In the darkness, tree branches scratched my face. I fell. I got up. I ran again. By the time dawn came, the sounds of pursuit had faded. We hid somewhere in the mountain. Gasping for breath, we looked at each other. We were alive, for now at least. But we didn't know where to go. I didn't even know where in Pyongyang we were, or which direction the border was. We just decided to go north, towards Hamgyong province, towards the border. We spent 2 days in the mountain. We had nothing to eat, no water. We drank stream water. We were so hungry that we ate grass. We only moved at night. We hid during the day. We avoided people. If we saw a village, we turned back. 1 week, 2 weeks, a month. I don't know how long it took. We just kept going north. We had nothing in our hands. No money, no ID, no connections. Just the will to live. Sometimes I swept my tongue across my mouth. My teeth were there. I still had healthy teeth left. Sister number 1 had lost all her teeth and died. But I was still intact. That kept me alive. The teeth left in my mouth. The legs that could still walk. The heart that could still run. They told me, survive. Keep going. We saw the border. It was the Tumen River. Across the river was China. If we just crossed that river, we would escape North Korea. But the border was heavily guarded. Barbed wire, patrols, watchtowers. We waited for several days. We looked for an opportunity. Then one night, it rained. It was a downpour. The patrol went into the guard post. This was it. I looked at number 3. Number 3 looked at me. We nodded. We crawled towards the barbed wire. Our clothes got torn, and our skin got scratched. But it didn't matter. We reached the riverbank. The Tumen River was right in front of us. I swept my tongue across my mouth again. My teeth were there. I still had my teeth left. I thought of Sister number 1's face. I remembered the smell of the extraction room. If we got caught, we would go back to that sequence. Getting our teeth pulled, suffering, dying. I jumped into the river. The cold river water enveloped my whole body. It was early April, but the Tumen River water was as cold as ice. Water came into my mouth, into my nose. I couldn't breathe, but I swam. I flailed my limbs and moved forward. The current was strong. I got pushed along but kept swimming. I heard the sound of a whistle behind us. The patrol had spotted us. Stop! I heard the voice. I swam even faster. I heard gunshots. Bullets flew over the water. Splash, splash. But they couldn't hit us in the darkness and rain. I kept swimming. My arms ached. My legs were tired. I lost sensation due to the cold water. But I couldn't stop. I knew that if I stopped, I would die. When we were about halfway across the river, I lost number 3's hand. I was swept away by the current. I turned my head to look for Sam, but I couldn't see her. There was only darkness. Sam! I shouted, but it was drowned out by the sound of rain. I just kept moving forward. I felt sorry, but I couldn't go back. Even I had to survive. I swam and swam. I had no strength left in my arms. I swallowed water. I coughed. Then my feet touched the ground. I crawled up. I had no strength in my body, but I crawled up. I climbed up, scraping the soil with my fingernails. I lay down on the riverbank. I was gasping for breath. Rain poured on my face. It was Chinese soil. I looked across the river. I could see North Korea. I could see lights, watchtowers. But I was on this side. I had crossed the river. I couldn't see Sam. I was alone. I got up. I staggered, but stood. And I walked. Away from North Korea, I just walked. It became dawn. The rain stopped. The sun rose. I was near a village. It was a Chinese village. The signs were different. I stood in front of a house. I knocked on the door. No one came out. I knocked again. The door opened. An old woman came out. She was a Korean-Chinese grandmother. I collapsed. The grandmother caught me. "Are you okay?" the grandmother asked. She spoke in our language. I cried. I cried for the first time. For the first time since I left North Korea, I cried while holding someone's hand. The grandmother took me into her house. She gave me warm water. She changed my clothes. "Where are you from?" the grandmother asked. I couldn't answer. I just cried. The grandmother didn't say anything. She just patted my back. I looked in the mirror. I saw my face. Tangled hair, a scratched face, wet clothes, but I was alive. I opened my mouth. I had teeth. My healthy teeth were still there. Sister number 1 lost her teeth and died, but I lived with my teeth. Looking at my face in the mirror, I thought, I have to tell now. I have to let the world know what sister number 1 and those still there are going through. I survived, and now I will testify. My time in China was another fear. I had no identity. If caught by the police, I would be sent back to North Korea. Being sent back meant death. I lived in hiding. Korean Chinese people helped me. They gave me food and a place to sleep. They even found me a job. I realized then how grateful I was that we used the same language. About a year later, I met a South Korean missionary. He said there was a way to go to South Korea, a route through Thailand. I chose that path. Another long journey began, from China to Laos, from Laos to Thailand. When I arrived at the South Korean embassy in Thailand, I cried. I had heard that I was now safe. In October 2005, I arrived at Incheon Airport. I can never forget the feeling of stepping on South Korean soil for the first time. The bright lights, people walking freely, smiling faces. This was truly a different world. I spent 3 months at Hana Center. I learned Korean and how to live in South Korea. It was very different from the language used in North Korea. Now I live in Seoul. I work at a convenience store and prepare for the GED exam. I was amazed when I first saw a 24-hour convenience store. It was strange that the lights were on all night, and you could buy things anytime. I was even more amazed when I went to a supermarket. There were so many things. In North Korean markets, it was hard to even get a bushel of rice, but here everything was available. I searched the internet for news about North Korea, hoping to find some news about my mother. But there was nothing. I miss my mother. I want to let her know that I am alive. But there is no way to contact her. Calling North Korea would put my mother in danger. So I wait. I believe that one day, when unification comes, I will be able to meet my mother. Will our generation see unification? That is my greatest wish. I often think of sister number 1, the sister whose name I never knew, the sister who died at the age of 28. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't be here now. Her death told me, run away, live, testify. So today I tell you, there are still women in North Korea who suffer under the name of joy. People who are called by numbers and not treated as humans. People who have their healthy teeth forcibly removed, who cannot receive treatment even when they are in pain, and whose deaths go unrecorded. I was lucky. Thanks to sister number 1, I escaped before my teeth were removed. But there are still countless numbers left there. I ask you, please share my story with many people. Press subscribe and like, and leave encouraging comments. More people need to know the reality of North Korea, what is happening there. Only then can change begin. Your attention gives great strength to defectors like me. It makes me feel that what we have gone through was not in vain. I will continue to speak for sister number 1 and for all those still there. Thank you.